Hey everybody, on this episode I'm showing how a music video is basically shot, prepped, and put into use in Adobe Premiere. I've already done a tutorial on multi-camera use and how to do offline footage and edit that offline footage and then relink it to the original high definition or the original high quality footage. I'm going to post a link here at the beginning, so if you want to watch that first, you can watch this to understand more of the post-production process. But this is prepping a music video to shoot and kind of the concept behind shooting music videos, multi-camera music videos, and editing and getting them ready for post-production. First of all, what I've got here is I've got some of the music that was delivered to me by the music artist here. You're going to be using the pre-recorded music that they have available, either MP3 or WAV format. What we've got here, I've got an MP3 and a WAV. I'm going to bring these both in. These are a little bit different. Let me show you what the musician did here to prepare this music. First of all, right here at the very beginning, I'm going to open up the MP3, and this is actually where the song begins, but he put a little drum beat in, and if you can't do that, that's fine. You don't necessarily need it. This just helps cue the music group that's performing in front of camera when to start, so they know when to start, so when the music starts. I'm going to pull it in a timeline here and show you really quick. As we play through this, he just put this beat, this click, 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 and then the music starts. So, and he kept this click going throughout just so the drummer could keep on beat with the song. You could hear it, because what they do is they lip sync and basically play along with the music that's already been pre-mixed, pre-recorded, but he's added this little lead in to the song here, so the band, when you're playing this out over loudspeakers, the band knows when to pretend to play the song. So here we go, watch this. And that's where the guitar starts, because this song doesn't start off with any sort of drum, so it just has that beat leading in, so the guitarist knows exactly where to start. So they hear that leading in. So this song has been prepped, and actually what they've given me here as well, just so we can sync this up, they gave me a wave for the final. Once we use this file here that they perform to in front of camera, and then this one here is the one I'm going to be using to edit. And as I bring this in, you'll see he's got the exact same little beats at the beginning, but notice that it's just the music. Once these beats, the musician prepared these beats here, 1, 2, 3, 4, timed it up exactly with the MP3 here. So this is the high quality WAV file, but notice after the beat, let me delete this one. So yeah, there we got it with the guitar. But this is the song that we play out loud in the studio or wherever you're performing the shoot. You have to take out an amp or something like that to play out loud, so the band can play to the song that's been pre-recorded, because they are not performing it live. They are pretending like they're performing it live for the camera. So what we're going to do here is we're going to prep this for a shoot. So let's pretend this has not been shot yet. It has, but I'm going to show you how to prep this for a shoot. One thing we recommend doing here is I'm going to create a countdown here. In Premiere, I'm going to go to a new universal countdown leader here, and I'm going to hit OK. And I'm going to make this one actually 1920 by 1080 here. That doesn't really matter. Well, actually, where it does matter is what type of device you're going to be using to play the music off of. If you're using an iPhone or an iPad or a tablet, some sort of Android tablet or Android phone or laptop, whatever you want to use, you can. Just make sure it supports the resolution and the type of video that you're using. Most of those devices will play back H.264 just fine. So I'm going to do a new universal countdown later. I'm going to hit OK. My timeline set up for 1920 by 1080. I'm going to hit OK. OK. So that's this timeline that I got set up here. Put my source patching to the V1 and A1. And grab this countdown leader and drag it in. What we're going to use this countdown leader for is a sync marker, because we're going to have cameras, as you're going to see. We're going to have cameras pointed toward this video clip playing back that will eventually play back the music. So you'll have an Android, so you have a tablet or an iPad or something pointed toward that has the audio plug jack. You have the audio jack plugged into that device, leading to the speaker or to the amplifier. And then with this video playing back, it does a little beep on the 2, and you have a sync marker right there. So the cameras will pick up the visual, the 2, and the audio will play out that beep. You have a little beep segment there, so you know exactly where. So you have this little beep that happens right on the 2 there, and this is going to be your visual cue right there, your visual sync marker to tie into the music. So now what I'm going to do is here as well. What I usually like to do, this first countdown leader is for the cameras. I'm going to put another countdown leader in, and this one is going to be for the musicians. So I'm going to take the audio off this because they don't need to have the beep on there for the sync marker. They just want a countdown so they kind of know when the song's going to begin. So right here, the iPad is going to be pointed toward the camera until it goes. And now you'll turn the iPad toward the band, and they can watch this as the cameras are getting focused and back on the band. They've got about 10-12 seconds to get that done, and then the band will know approximately where the song's going to start. There's the 2, 1, and at the end here I'm going to put the song. So I'm going to grab this song file here, and I'm just going to drag it and drop it down below. So as we go 2, 1, 0, I could put the beat right here. I'm going to take a little bit off of that beat right there. Drag it over. So now when it goes down to 1, and there they start. So they know this little beat, so they will see this visual here, and then they will hear the beat. And like I said, you don't need this. I've done this music videos like this without the beat before, but it's kind of difficult to get the band to start right on time, to be able to start on time kind of blindly like that. So this helps them lead in and know when to start, that little beat segment that starts before the song. So once again, this countdown leader with a beep for the camera, this countdown leader once for the band, and then the song. And then the song just plays through. So now what you'll do is we're going to export this out to a video. So I'm going to hit Control-M. It'll bring out this export window. And depending on what device you're doing it to, so we now have an H.264, and we can choose Android tablets, Android phones, Apple TV, iPads. We can choose all these different types of functions, or just a laptop is fine, whatever one you want to do. So let's say that we're doing this for an iPad here. I'm going to go up and do iPad. We're going to do it 720 as high enough resolution because we're not looking at a visual, we're just listening to the song. And we're going to do, this is a 30 frame per second timeline. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to click on the name, find a location, put it right into this folder, and we'll call it Sandy for Shoot. That's the name of the song there. I'm going to export this out right there into this folder for Shoot. This is the file for the shoot. Going to hit OK. Going to export. And I'm going to let this whole thing export right here, and then I will be back and show you the next step after this is exported. Now that it is exported, I've got this MP4 here. That is the file that it exported out for the iPad or whatever device you decide to use this on. So I'm going to right click on this. I'm just going to play it. And this, once it's loaded on, we're going to have the iPad. So once that's done, you're basically going to have the iPad. That's an iPad there. You have the iPad with that file loaded on it, and you're going to plug the audio into the iPad, and then you're going to have that go to a large speaker system or a big amplifier. So there's my amplifier. There we go. This is putting out sound here. Da, 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 da. So the iPad is going to be pointed toward the cameras. It will do the countdown with the beep on it, and then it will do the countdown for the band. And then it will start the song, and the music will start playing quite loudly, and then the band will be able to perform to the song and pretend like they're lip syncing it. But that's the basic setup. Yeah, I love my little Photoshop here. It's awesome. This photo is now copyrighted. So here is that file. Let's take a look at it really quick. I'm going to open this up with VLC and take a look at this. So it does a countdown leader. So right now when you're playing this on the iPad, this slate is going to be pointed toward the camera or the cameras for the sync marker. And there's our little beep right there. And then after that it keeps playing. It does the other countdown leader. Now it's pointed back toward the band. We use that first sync marker for the cameras. And we use a second sync marker for just so the band has an idea of when the music is going to start. So we'll take a look. Let's kind of take some footage. We'll show you some footage from set here. So right here you'll notice on this set here where we're shooting this music video, we've got somebody holding it's actually just the laptop with the audio plugged into it and going to an amplifier, and he's pointing the countdown leader toward the cameras. And the cameras are rolling, so basically you'll do a basic assistant directing sort of moment where you let the cameras know to roll camera. And we actually had a slate in front of the camera, so we were marking each shot. And in this setup right here, we had two cameras going at once. basically talk about camera angles. With this instance, we had basically our band members. We had 5 band members playing here. We have all these band members looking down on top of their heads here. We have these band members on different instruments. What we did for this specific shoot is we had some tracks, and we had a dolly on the track here. And even if you don't have tracks, you don't need to do tracks. You can do handheld and other movements. You can do it with a single camera if you wish, and have them play like 6 or 7 times the song all the way through. Once the song starts, you do not stop the camera until the end of the song. You have them perform the entire song for each individual take, and then you'll be able to do multi-camera with it. So what we did is we had this camera here, and this one was a wider angle. The first time was like a 28, and then we had a camera on the ground here on an 85 millimeter, so we were able to get kind of close-up tight shots. And we rolled the song, played it all the way through, and then after that was finished, we did a new setup. And then we put a longer lens. We had like a 200 millimeter lens. It was a zoom lens, so we had it set at about 150 meters. And then this one was set at 50 millimeters here, and this one went. And this camera, while this one was dollying back and forth with this 150 millimeter lens, this camera went handheld and walked around and got different instruments. We did this several times with different angles, trying to switch up the angles enough where we had about 6, 7, 8 different angles that we worked with, I believe, on this shoot. But so with 2 cameras rolling at once, we ended up doing it like 3 or 4 times, and we had 8 different camera angles to use. So the band basically performed the song 4 different times, and rolling it with 2 cameras at once, we had about 8 camera angles. I think that's the way it worked. So after the band plays the song, they play it all the way from beginning to the end, and then after they're completely done, wait for a few seconds and yell cut, and then we have all these different camera angles we use. But that's kind of describing the setup to get your audio synced. It's an easy way to sync your audio together with your camera angles. So I'm going to do a new project here. Actually, we can just use the same project. I'm just going to move this into a folder and call this sync. And now we're going to bring in the footage that was shot from the shoot. With this one, we used a Blackmagic 4K camera and a Red camera shooting at the same resolution. We set the cameras to both shoot at 4K 16:9. That makes things a lot easier than if you just go into the shoot not thinking about the type of settings that you're going to be using. I would recommend if you are mixing cameras, if the cameras are all, as long as the cameras shoot the same resolution, like with the Blackmagic and the Red, they shoot 4K. The Red camera will shoot up past 5K. If you're doing a Dragon, it'll shoot up toward 6K. So what we did is we intentionally shot everything at 4K 16:9, exact same resolution. So I'm going to import this footage here from our Red camera and from our Blackmagic. I'm going to go into our Red footage here, grab all of our Red footage, right-click and import. Go back to the Blackmagic, grab all the Blackmagic shots, right-click and import. I'm going to go back to the project, and all the footage has been brought in from the Red footage and from the Blackmagic. And I know there's a few shots here that we did not use. Like at the beginning, there was a couple punches right there that was 5 seconds. 5 frames on that beginning click, kind of an accidental punch, so I'm going to get rid of that. This one was 57 seconds. That was an accident. I looked through the script supervisor log and I'll know that. And this one, 328, was a practice session, so I don't need that. So I've got 1 angle, 2 angle, 3 angle, 4, 5 on the Red camera. And on the Blackmagic, it's kind of the same. I'm going to get rid of the footage I don't need, the 2-second one, and there's the media duration. That was our practice one, 6-second media punch. Get rid of those ones, and I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And a couple of these last ones actually are green screen things. So I actually, for this shoot that I'm doing right here, for this, I don't need the green screen footage for what we're doing here. I'm just going to keep it in there right now. But what we're going to do here is, this is very high quality 4K footage. This Blackmagic is a ProRes 422, and this Red footage is their raw footage. So this will come across as, so if we're trying to do multi-camera with this footage here, it's going to really bog down the system with that many angles of 4K footage. And first of all, just to get it kind of the Red footage to match the Blackmagic, I double click on the Red, and it looks like it's kind of got a certain look to it. Double click on the Blackmagic, and it looks a little flatter and not so magenta. It looks like the Red camera is very magenta there. So we can go into the effect controls of each Red camera, and I notice the tint here is at -19, which gives it a little kind of magenta look. I'm going to set everything at neutral at 0. Let's take a look at that. And that looks a lot better. That looks closer to the Blackmagic footage. So I can do that to each one of these clips here, and put the tint at 0 on each one of these. You don't necessarily have to do this either, because we're going to eventually be going back and referencing the original raw data, but right now I'm getting these ready to export out for the editor here. So I've got all my tint changed. I'm not going to have to do that with the black magic. Now my color temperature seems to match a little bit better between the red footage and the black magic footage. So now I'm going to grab all these shots here, and we're going to export these out. We're going to make some offline footage or proxy media here. I'm going to hit Control M and export these out. Depending on your system, if you're working on solid state drives, or if you're working on a laptop, or you're working on regular hard drives or an external USB 3 hard drive, you might want to change the compression data rate here. I'm going to go under my preset here, under my format, and we're going to choose you're really safe. You could do 1920 by 1080. You're really safe using 720 for most computers. I'm just going to use YouTube 720 for this footage here. And now I'm going to change my data rate here. I'm going to go under my bitrate data, my data rate down here, and I'm going to put this, just so it makes it really easy. I'm working off a USB 3 drive. I'm going to change this to about 8 on my target bitrate there, and you could turn this down to like 10 on the maximum bitrate. And there's a variable bitrate one pass here. It can fluctuate a little bit, but that's going to be not very much data to put through like 6 to 8 streams at a time. I'm going to hit Q. This will send it to Media Encoder. Media Encoder will start up, and all the files have been loaded to Media Encoder. If I want to change the location that these are saving to, I'm going to select. If you want to change the location, I'm going to select all of these. I'm going to hit Control A, which will select them all. Click on one of the names here, the output file, and we can put these in. I'm going to go to my same folder that I was working out of, and I'm going to make a folder. I've already got a folder here. I've already encoded these. You're going to double click on the folder you want to save them to, select folder, and hit play, and it will start encoding these to that folder. Once that's done, you've got all the files encoded, and I go through this on another tutorial. The one that I pointed out at the beginning of this tutorial, you're going to take all those videos in, and you're going to take all these videos, you're going to encode them to offline files, which have less data rate, so that your computer can keep up with it and do the multicam edit, which is our next step. So now I'm going to import my proxy MP4s. I'm going to import that whole folder. And once the files have been imported, actually I'm going to get rid of these green screen ones. I don't need those right now. I'm going to use those for later, but not for this demonstration here. But I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 angles. We did an extra one on the Blackmagic for a handheld, so we've got basically, we shot it 3 times plus 1 extra, so 4 times for the last Blackmagic shot. So now we're going to take each one of these here, double click, load it into our viewer, and we're going to set markers on these. And look at this, as we play through our footage, there's our slate. This is A and B camera, our first scene. This is our very first shot. Take 1 on that shot. So once the slate is out of the way, notice the laptop here is pointing toward both cameras, and both cameras, the one that we're looking at right now is the red camera, and here's the Blackmagic. But they're both pointed toward the slate. And right here on the 2, we can't hear it because these don't have audio going into these cameras. So I'm going to hit right there on the number 2, and I'm going to hit M for a marker. Right now there's already been a marker added on here. Let me clear that. So we'll pretend like we didn't do this. Clear all markers. So right there on the 2, I'm going to hit the letter M for marker, and it adds a marker right on that frame. And I'm going to do this to each one of those clips. Each one of these I've already added markers to, but same thing. There's our slate as we skim through it. There is our countdown toward the video, or towards the cameras. Right there on the 2, hit M for marker. The marker is set. And notice the laptop, of course, pans towards the band, and they watch the countdown, and then they'll start playing their music. So each one of these shots, once they have their marker on it, we select all of our clips, and I'm going to right click on all these clips here that have the marker on them, and tell it to create a multi-camera source sequence. We can call this a music video. And we're going to tell this to move source clips to process bin. I'll move all those to process bin. I don't need that right now. I can take that off. Doesn't matter. And we are going to tell it to use in-points, out-points, timecode, clip markers. We're going to have it do the unnamed marker number 1 from each one of these clips. Hit OK. It puts it all into, all these videos got put into this file. I'm going to get rid of my MP4 name there. There we go. Music video is the name of this multi-camera sequence. I'm going to grab that out of my folder. I'm going to grab this and drag it to a new timeline. There's my new timeline. Shift plus to bring up the height. And I'm going to move and I'm going to move this in here to where we have that sync marker right here. All these camera angles are synced up to hit this marker at the exact same time. Right there is my -2. I can grab now and go and grab the MP4 that we used to encode, or I can use that MP4 that we used to export out. I'm going to use the MP4 that we exported out to use on set that was playing on the laptop over here. I've got that exact same file here. I'm going to go into my sync folder. I'm going to grab that. Oh, I never imported it. Let's import it really quick. There it is right there. Sandy for shoot. Select that, import it. And I've actually renamed it music video here, but I'm going to grab it into my time, put it in my source monitor, and I'm going to skim through it. There's the first countdown, there's the second countdown, but I can actually go to this first countdown here and get it right on the 2. I can hear that 2 right there. I've got the visual here, so actually the audio is a little bit redundant. So I'm going to put an endpoint, grab this and drag it and lock it right to the endpoint of my playhead right here. So there's the beep. So watch this. Now we have the audio synced up, so when it plays this video back, beep, there's our beep, and then the music starts playing. And she plays, and it syncs up exactly with the song. Now if I want to use the actual song here, the wave, which is higher quality and that doesn't have all the beats in it there, I can go grab that file now. I'm going to grab that wave. There it is. I'm going to drop it underneath here and zoom up, and I'm going to get these things lined up just by, I don't have a sync marker on this, so I actually just have to use waveforms here to sync it up. There's the first beat, and here's the first beat on the wave. So let's move over here. I'm going to grab this, hold down Alt, and shift it over, zoom right up to the frame here. And right there I've got those lined up exactly. So now actually this is my MP3 or my MP4 that I created for the iPad. Grab this file, Alt, arrow up, and it replaces this file up here. So I'm going to actually select all this crap. Actually, we can cut all of this other stuff off. I'm going to hit Control K, select all that, Alt, backspace and delete, go to the end, Control K, and cut off all this excess stuff. Delete it. There we go. Our audio, our wave is now synced up with the MP4. Let's play through this. And that syncs up perfectly there. And then when she starts singing, it should match up as well. There we go, and her lips match up because she was singing along with the music that was playing back there, and we got this all synced up, and there we go. So now we can do our multicam on this here. Let's go to our little viewer here. I'm going to click on our settings and tell it to show our multi-camera view. Like I said, I got another tutorial on this, so I'm kind of going through this quickly. So you can watch that tutorial if you want more details on it. But now I hit tilde over this, and there are all of our angles here. I probably want to start out close-up on the guitar, so I'm going to select that while it's paused. And that's our close-up. Then I'm going to cut to this shot. Back to the guitar. Back to the wide. To her face for the close-up. Okay, and what I was doing there is I was clicking on these windows here as we were playing, and it performed all those edits. Like I said, if you're not familiar with this concept, go back and look at the video. I know I've said that like 50 times, but do it. And all those edits that I just did, I performed live off of these angles here, and the edit is done. Well, not all the way done, but done up to this point. So here's what we've got so far. Let me turn the music video or the multi-angle off here, and we'll look at what we've got. So here's our edit so far. Edits down here. And then if you want to perform any changes down here, you can. Just by doing simple edits after you're finished doing the full edit. So I'm going to do a quick edit on this thing, just like an on-the-fly edit, so it's not going to be too fancy or look too great. But then I'm going to come back and show you the next step. Once you finish with the basic edit here, I did a quick rough cut of this. It's very rough, but I'm going to go and turn my camera off here, my multi-camera, go back to composite video, and I'm going to select this whole thing. If you've done some changes and get everything approved, you can actually, this will speed things up. If you, especially you need to do this for color correction when you're finished, I'm going to right click and we're going to go to multi-camera and we're going to flatten everything here. So that flattens all the angles, so the edits are kind of solidified and done. But now is the next part here. I'm done with the offline edit. I want to reload these things back to the original resolution of 4K. These are I told you 720. I did 1920 by 1080 because my computer keeps up with these. If your video card does not, you might have to do 720 at a lower data rate. I'm going to create a timeline that is going to be the same resolution as the footage now that I want to put it in here. So I'm going to import a clip here. I'm going to import one of the actual 4K clips. I'm going to go under our Blackmagic and grab one of these. It's the same resolution as the red and the same frame rate. I'm going to grab this to a timeline and set up a new timeline that is now 4K. It's 3840 by 2160. 4K Ultra HD is what that's considered. And Shift plus / above the enter key and get rid of that. I've got a timeline all set up that's in 4K. And now get rid of that clip. Get rid of that and change this to 4K music video sequence. Now I'm going to go back to my music video. This is my 1920 by 1081, or in some instances, like I said, would be 720. I'm going to grab this whole thing, select Control A, Control C and copy, go to my music video here, and Control V and paste. I've got my 1920 by 1080 sequence in here. Notice it's lower resolution. But now I can highlight this whole timeline here. I'm going to select just the video, and I'm going to right click, and we're going to make this all offline here. I'm going to go down to make offline and make this offline. You can keep the media files on the disk, or you can delete them. I wouldn't recommend deleting them in case you need to reference them for some reason, but I'm going to hit OK, and it makes all these files offline. Now we move through this here, and you notice we just get this symbol that these are all offline. But now we need to reattach these to the original high quality one. One thing that I kind of don't like with Premiere, that Premiere does not just look in a specific folder. It will look specifically for the exact files that it was latched to in the first place. So you got to kind of trick Premiere in a way. I wish they would change this. It's one thing I want them to change, because it does really well in color correction software like SpeedGrade or Resolve, but it does not do it well on Premiere. So I'm actually going to go to our music video here, and I'm going to just grab, if you grab your folder here, your proxy folder, and I'm going to rename it here, just to trick it. I'm going to just call it old files or something like that. And then I'm going to move it out of this folder because it's going to be looking in this folder as well. I'm going to grab this here. I'm going to just do Control X to copy it or to cut it, and I'm going to go out of it and Control V and paste and get it out of that original folder there. So now when we reconnect these, it's not going to be looking inside that folder for those original files. I'm going to right click in here. I'm going to select all these video files in here except for the audio here. I'm going to hit / above the enter key, grab all these video files, and we're going to right click and we're going to link media, and we're going to link them to our high quality footage as opposed to our MP4s. I'm going to hit locate, but first of all I'm going to tell it to make sure that file extension is unchecked. We don't want it to match the file properties to the file extension. We just want it to match the file name. So I've just got that started. I've just got that and nothing else. Align timecode, relink others automatically. We're going to hit locate, and I'm going to find my studio stuff, which is the high quality. Right now it is looking for A003 clip 4, which is a red file. So I'm going to go into that, and 004, clip 004 right there, and it's looking for clip number 3 out of that folder there. So select that. And I found all the red footage. Now I'm going to have to tell it where the Blackmagic footage is. So I'm going to hit locate, go back to my Blackmagic folder, and tell it Blackmagic, and is looking for, let's do this by list, It is looking for clip number 4. So I'm going to select clip number 4, select it, and it should find the rest of them. And there we go. Since I moved the folder out of there, it kind of tricked it, made it not look for those files inside that folder. It's just a little bit of a workaround, and now if you want to, you can actually go back and move that folder back. I like keeping it out just so it doesn't mess up anything. Now I'm going to hit Control S and save this. And all of our files are now relinked to the original 4K files. And we're back to 4Kville. Happy place to be. I'm going to go look under these files here, select them, and look at this. 4K. It kept the original extension name because that's what it named it when I brought it in, but it is referencing the red footage and the Blackmagic footage. You might want to go through these and make sure these are all the 4K files. And now this is back to our 4K, is up to our 4K sequence. Okay, so the next part. With this music video here, we're going to add B-roll to this. A lot of music videos will have this kind of multicam thing going on. Let me turn this down to quarter resolution and play it back. Okay, so that's looking pretty good there. We've got our music video, everything synced up. We've got our basic cut down here. But now we want to start doing some B-roll. And some B-roll was shot for this music video to accompany this kind of studio shoot here. So I'm going to go under, and this is under the car folders. People driving in cars here. I'm going to grab both these folders and drag them in. And before I do that, actually, because one thing that you got to know is this was shot on a 5D. The 5D is 1920 by 1080, which is a different resolution than our 4K footage in here. So that's a little bit of an issue because when you drag in, well, let's bring in one clip and show you what happens when you bring in one clip. Let's bring in just one clip and show you what happens when we bring in one clip here. This footage here is 1920 by 1080. If we edit a piece of footage here into our music video, 1920 by 1080 footage, so we want this shot right here, play. And we drop this clip here. We want this clip down inside of our timeline. I'm going to do source patching here. Let's say this clip comes in after she starts singing. So say we want it to start right there. We want this video to overlap with this video right here. So we want this video visual to overlap the video down here. So I've got this in point and out point, and down my timeline I'm going to hit an in point and do 3-point editing. I'm going to lock the audio because I just want this to, and then the source patch we're going to change to video line 2 here. So it will send the video here. It's going to try to send the audio here, but it's locked, so it won't send audio from this. It's just going to send video down here. So a period to drop that in. Now watch what happens when it cuts to this video. This is lower resolution. You can simply right click on this and say set to frame size or scale to frame size, and it scales that up to fit the frame size, but there's an easier way to do this, a step to do this before you actually import the footage. And you have to make sure you do it before you import the footage if you're doing different resolutions. And delete this clip out. I'm going to go to Edit, Preferences, General, and I'm going to check mark this little default scale to frame size right there. Now any footage that you import, it will have that check marked on that footage. Then when you drop footage that's a certain resolution into a different resolution timeline, it will scale to the frame size of that resolution. I'm going to hit OK. Now watch what happens when we import this footage. Let me go to type, and we're just going to grab the movie files here. I'm going to drag this in here, hold it over my folder, make a new folder. Let it import the files. Once the footage is imported, I'm going to call this B-roll. So now we can start editing here and do the same thing that we did before. Let me get it to where we want to do the cut right here. I'm going to put an in point on the timeline. This is 3-point editing, 1 point, and I'm going to put an in and out point up here.
This is good. And
In point, out point, period to drop that in. And I've got this footage up here. Let's go to our timeline here, and look what it's done automatically. It has scaled this footage because we had that check mark done in the general preferences before we imported the footage. So all the footage you import with that check marked, it will add that check mark to these video clips that you import, and it will scale automatically whenever you drop it in a timeline with a different resolution. So now we can do some editing here. So let's go back and play this here. And right here, well, different clip. Let's cut to the reverse angle. So this clip here, in point.
That would be true.
Out point. Shift 3 to go to the timeline. In point on the timeline, period. Drop it in there. So now we've got our B-roll, and we're inserting this B-roll over the music video.
With her friends.
And there we go. And then we can edit the music video, add the B-roll, and I am going to be and we can continue doing that, adding the B-roll on top of this, and it will have the story kind of going on while the band is playing their music underneath. And then the final step of this is to go through and do color correction and tightening up and color correction of the B-roll and any sort of effects that you need to do with titles and whatnot. But that is essentially the process for editing a music video. And this is kind of a standard style of music video where you have the band kind of playing with multi-camera and then cutting to B-roll elements kind of telling a storyline. So if you have any questions, let me know, and be sure to watch the other video where I go into a little bit more detail with offline footage. But that is the process to follow. So thank you.